Coming up, we meet 5 high school students who are helping those in need one blanket at a time. Now, around town. Hi everybody, welcome to Around Town. I'm Steve Saunders. Peace, Love, and Blankets is a student-run organization that makes blankets for those who are in need. Just recently, they delivered blankets to victims of Hurricane Sandy down at Breezy Point, New York. But with help from their parents, these students have made and sent blankets all over the country and world. And the organization's home base, right here in Wethersfield. Here's the interview.
Most of you are from the Wethersfield High School. You live in Wethersfield. There's one from East Catholic. But we'd like to talk about your organization tonight, and so if you can tell us a little about what you do, that'd be great.
Well, we are a volunteer group that we basically started 3 years ago because we needed some community service, and we make blankets for people in shelters and like people that have suffered from natural disasters.
Okay, and you are Alex.
Yeah.
And can you introduce the rest of your group for me?
This is my sister Leanne. That's Jillian Massaro, Kristen Humphrey, and Sam Walter.
Very good. So tell me, how did this whole thing come together?
We started making blankets for like our school just as a fun thing for raffles and stuff, and then we thought like we could do something better with it, so we started looking at shelters and like places that needed it.
Okay, and so I understand that your blankets, that what you've made, have really made it across the world, really. Tell me about that and how that came to be.
Well, we got involved in the exchange program where we we let exchange students come and live with us for a month, and so that kind of helped us get the idea of sending them around the world. So like we had an exchange student from Italy, and just recently we sent a bunch of blankets to her, and then she brought them to a local hospital there. So, and then also we sent some back to Hong Kong and Brazil and Italy and Spain.
Very good. Wow. So how does the whole process start? I'm assuming that maybe you have a few blankets made already for something that may happen, or do you kind of react to what's going on, for instance, like Superstorm Sandy? Are you making blankets for something like that to send down to?
We usually, as you said, react when something happens. We make them continuously throughout the year, and then when something like that happens, we make some more and put them all together and send them.
So take me through the step 1 through, I don't know, 10 or whatever, of making a blanket. You know, you use a sewing machine, but how does the process start? You get fabric, and what happens after that?
Well, some of us have sewing machines and others don't. I don't, so what I do is I buy the fabric and I cut slits in it and then tie them. So, yeah, we don't have any of the tie ones out, but that's a different kind. These are made with sewing machines. Oh, there's one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, is it, being someone that has never really sewn before, you know, what is that process like? Does it take a lot of time to make one blanket? How long does it take to make one blanket? I'm guessing it depends on if it's a children's blanket or a teenage or adult blanket.
Well, it starts off by you have to have 3 yards of fabric for a child's blanket and 4 yards for an adult blanket. And you pin it along the edges so that everything is even. So when you put it through the sewing machine, it doesn't get knotted up. And then you sew the edges inside out so that the lining along the edges is not going to be shown when the blanket's flipped inside out. And then you just sew the edge, and that's it.
Sounds simple, but
yeah.
you guys probably make it look simple, but it sounds pretty difficult. So maybe you can talk about some of the blankets that you brought. There's a lot of different patterns. I'm curious, how do you pick the pattern that goes on the blanket?
Well, for Operation Stand Down, for example, that's when we sent a bunch of blankets to the homeless veterans, and Alex is holding one, and it has an eagle on it and patriotic things. And we basically just choose, a lot of the time we send them to children, so we choose like fun patterns like the flowers in the basketball, and these have a bunch of animals on them. And then these, like the more basic patterns are like for the adults. So yeah, that's pretty much how we choose them, and they're usually pretty colorful and they're always soft. So
Yeah, they look really soft. So, what is it like to be able to make a blanket that ends up in, I read Hong Kong for example? How does that make you feel?
It feels pretty great because like you're not only helping people in your country, but other people get to know about you, and that's how they like remember you and things too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? I'm curious to see what that's like for you.
I like the idea of sending them out and not really knowing who they're going to, because I think that a lot of times community service is you get to meet the person or it's one specific thing. And with these, it's kind of, we're making blankets and that's the one thing we do, but they're able to help so many different people that I think that's really interesting. I know that when we sent blankets to Indiana, I got 2 handwritten thank yous back. One from a little boy, and he was overjoyed. It said that the blanket made him feel safe, and so it's really nice to know that like this time is being appreciated, that we're spending on it. So
Absolutely. Anyone else?
also, on the majority of the blankets we make, we have a little tag on them that says "Made with Love" from Peace, Love, and Blankets, and we also tie a card on that has a picture of a frog and a blanket on the front, and the back it says "Peace, Love, and Blankets," and then our address. So when it gets sent out to other countries, people get to learn where it comes from. This little town in Connecticut.
Right. That's right. Arguably the best town in Connecticut. So if someone in town or even in Connecticut or wherever actually wanted to donate to your cause, what would they do?
We accept fabric donations, but we don't accept monetary donations. So if they could send it to the address we have on the card, that's much appreciated.
Okay, we'll get the address on the screen there. So I'm curious too, making these blankets though, something like Superstorm Sandy, how does that work with a natural disaster like that? You send out the blanket to the folks, and do you necessarily know who receives the blanket, or how does that work?
Well, over the weekend, Kristen and I actually drove down to Breezy Point and we delivered the blankets. So we had 40 of them in the back of her car and we dropped them off at the church. We were going to bring them to the fire station, but it was really chaotic down there, so we brought them to the church and they brought them inside. And sometimes we know specifically who gets them, sometimes we don't. I've gotten a letter from a woman that works at the at the hospital, actually, the Children's Hospital, and we brought a bunch there to some children with cancer. So.
Interesting. I read a note that each one of you is responsible for keeping track of your own blankets. What does that mean exactly?
Well, we each have to make a certain amount of blankets depending on where we send them. So, like, for example, for this recent Storm Sandy, we each made about, like, 6 blankets. So you have to, like, get your own fabric and, like, get it all together. And then we just bring them all together and send them out.
And what has been the community reaction to something like this? Have you had donations of fabric?
Yeah, actually, our student council at school, because all of our teachers saw the link to the Scott Haney interview, so our student council put together like a donation thing, and they donated us fabric,
Excellent.
which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you were to say something to someone that's watching this program and say, we would like donations, what would you tell them about your experience making these blankets? Maybe someone who hasn't said anything yet, but you all have said great stuff.
Well, if you're like thinking about donating, you should, because it's like not just helping people locally, which is always a good thing, but could also help people around the country or even around the world, which is always like a helpful thing, because most people who like receive the blankets aren't as like lucky as we are to be like as fortunate as we are, so we could be helping more people.
Absolutely, and I think that's what makes this such a great cause. And I'm curious, do you guys get together to make all these blankets, or sometimes you do it in between math homework, or I'm wondering how that works.
Well, one time we went to a friend's house and we had different stations. So like some girls were pinning them, some girls were cutting them, and some girls were sewing them. So we've done that a couple times. But usually we do this on our own time. I know personally I do it on the weekend because that's when I find the most free time. So each blanket takes about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to make, depending. For sewing them, I've never done the tie ones, so I don't know how long that takes.
For the tie ones, it takes like an hour and a half.
Okay. Okay, very good. And I read that you've made over 300 blankets. Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does something like that feel? Because that is an accomplishment from where I'm sitting over here.
Yeah. Speaking personally, I think it's really amazing just because I've also participated in other organizations, and I think that this one is really important, like, compared to the other ones, because it is only the few of us that do this. So whereas, like, I help raise money for juvenile diabetes as well, and that's a really good cause as well, but there are so many people doing it that sometimes it's nice to have something that only you do with, like, a group of your, like, close friends and send them places, and I think that's really nice.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent. Well, I think you guys are doing a great job. It's really exciting. I don't know if you want to open up one of the blankets and kind of show the camera, not to unfold it on you, but. And so, what one is that one there? I see a big elephant.
This is a sewn blanket. Okay. So on the edges, it's sewn together, and then we have the tag down here on the bottom. Hold on.
Yeah, I was curious about the tag.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says Peace Love Blankets, and then it says Wethersfield, Connecticut.
Okay.
And then the one that Leanne is holding is a tie blanket. So it's made of the same material, but you just cut slits in it and then tie it together.
Okay, so that's what it's called, tied. Okay, on the sides, right?
Yep.
It's kind of tethered on the sides
Yeah.
there. Okay. Yeah, these are beautiful blankets. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good. So, and what was the minimum, if someone were to donate fabric, what was the minimum amount of fabric?
2 yards.
2 yards.
For a children's, they can do up to 4 yards for an adult blanket.
So an adult blanket takes 4 yards, and a children's blanket takes 2.
Yeah, between
The children's blanket takes 3, but we could take a minimum of 2.
Minimum of 2. Okay. And also, you accept gift cards to buy fabric as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we buy fabric usually at Joann Fabrics. That's where most of us get our fabric. So a gift card there would be great.
Okay, Joann's, yes. My wife has brought me there many times. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to add about your organization or anything else?
I don't think so.
Who? You know what? Actually, how did it? Who started the whole group? Was there one person that kind of had the sole idea of doing something like this?
Alex.
Yeah.
You.
Well, it was kind of all of us, but my mom was the one that likes to sew, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And actually, there are no parents here on the show, but they are involved. What is their involvement in your organization?
They just help us out with, like, actually getting them to the places, because we send them, like, internationally, so that actually, like, costs us some amount. So they help us out with that, and they just help us, like, stay organized and things.
And some of the places that we're talking about, Japan, Brazil, Italy, Russia, Spain, Hong Kong, and then here stateside Indiana, and of course New York, which you're sending blankets to now, and then many towns across Connecticut. So how exciting. That's awesome. So thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
What a great group of students. If you'd like to donate to this awesome cause, they don't accept cash, but they do take donations in the form of fabric, with 2 yards being the minimum amount. They'll also gladly take gift cards to any store that sells fabric. In addition to fabric, they also are looking for a couple portable sewing machines that are in good shape. All donations should be dropped off at Wethersfield High School. If you have any questions, you can shoot an email over to them. It's peaceloveblanket, no S, @gmail.com. I'm Steve Saunders. Thanks for watching.